The universe was old, incomprehensibly so. Empires had risen and fallen for eons, their remnants scattered across the void like forgotten embers of once mighty flames. Among these, the Celestials reigned supreme, beings so vast and ancient that lesser species mistook them for gods. They crafted stars, shaped galaxies, and wiped civilizations from existence on a whim. To them, organic life was a fleeting anomaly, a thing to be studied, manipulated, or erased as deemed necessary. And then, there were the humans. Compared to the grand tapestry of cosmic history, humanity was a smudge, a recent spark in the abyss. Their homeworld, Earth, was a mere speck, their technology primitive, their lifespan pitifully short. Yet, for reasons beyond logic, beyond the cold calculations of the Celestials, they refused to be insignificant. It all began with first contact. A routine survey by the Celestials led them to Sol, the unremarkable system sheltering the human race. It was not their first time observing such a species, countless others had been found, classified, and either enslaved or exterminated. But something about humanity intrigued the ancient ones. Their history was drenched in struggle, their past riddled with war, and yet, they persevered. Unlike the thousands of species that came before them, who cowered at the sight of divine power, humans did something the Celestials had never encountered before. They fought back. When the first celestial probes descended upon Earth, scanning its oceans, mountains, and cities, the response was immediate. The humans fired upon them. Not just in fear. Not just in desperation. But in defiance. The Celestials, bemused, found this amusing. Their emissary, a vast, shimmering being known as Seraphis, descended upon Earth's atmosphere, expecting submission. The humans, in turn, launched nuclear missiles at her. The weapons, insignificant in their power, barely registered against Seraphis's form, yet the intent behind them was unmistakable. She was not met with awe. She was met with rage. Seraphis, like all Celestials, could peer into the very essence of a species. She expected to see primal fear, the desire to worship or flee. Instead, she found something different, an unbreakable will. The Council of Celestials gathered. The humans, they reasoned, were inconsequential. A species so fragile could be erased in an instant. And yet, there was hesitation. The Celestials had ruled unchallenged for eons, but never before had they faced a species that reacted to divinity with resistance instead of reverence. And so, they gave humanity a test. A single, simple ultimatum. **** bow. Or be extinguished ****. The answer came in fire. In defiance. In war. And as the first battle began, the Celestials watched with curiosity, not yet understanding that they had just set into motion a war unlike any in the history of the universe. A war that would change everything. The ultimatum given by the Celestials, **** bow or be extinguished ****, was met with an answer that shook the stars. Humanity did not kneel. At first, the Celestials treated the situation with detached amusement. They had seen defiance before. Countless civilizations, far greater than humanity, had tried to resist the inevitable. All had been reduced to nothing. And so, Seraphis returned, not alone, but with an armada of divine retribution. The first battle. The celestial fleet was beyond comprehension. Their ships were not constructs of metal but living manifestations of energy and will. Planets trembled as they descended upon Sol, heralding what they believed would be an effortless eradication. The United Human Defense Force, UHDF, scrambled. Humanity was no stranger to war, but never had they faced an enemy so unfathomable. World governments abandoned their borders, unifying under one banner for the first time in history. Factories roared to life, constructing weapons that, by all logic, should not have been able to harm their foes. But humans had something the Celestials had never encountered in their eternity of rule, **** adaptability, ****. As the first celestial warships entered the solar system, they were met with a firestorm of human resistance. Nuclear missiles, railgun slugs, and experimental energy weapons hurled through the void, colliding with beings that had never known fear. The first engagement was brutal. Earth's moon was shattered in the crossfire. Entire cities were vaporized in the counterattack. But then, something unexpected happened. The first kill. The UHDF had developed a weapon in desperation, the resonance lance, an experimental technology that tapped into quantum instability, designed to disrupt celestial energy patterns. It was untested, unpredictable, and barely understood. And it worked. A single shot from the resonance lance struck a celestial warship, and for the first time in uncountable millennia, one of the gods fell. Seraphis watched in stunned silence. This was not possible. The Celestials were eternal, their bodies composed of energies far beyond the reach of mortal science. No species had ever truly harmed them before. And yet, humanity had. The Celestials hesitated for the first time in their long, undisturbed reign. This was not a battle of conquest. This was a battle against something unnatural. A species that should not have been able to fight them was fighting them. More celestial warships fell, and the battle over Sol raged beyond expectation. The Celestials had believed this war would end within a day. Now, it stretched into weeks. Seraphis, shaken by the loss of her kind, did something that no Celestial had done in millennia, she called for reinforcements, The Celestial Council, witnessing this, came to a chilling conclusion. The humans could not be ignored. They were not merely resisting. They were becoming a threat. And so, the gods of the universe decreed. Humanity would not just be defeated. They would be erased, The first battle of Sol had not ended in victory for humanity, but it had done something far more significant. It had proven that the Celestials were not invincible. Across the universe, the ripples of this revelation spread like wildfire. Lesser species, long since beaten into submission, whispered of a race that had defied the gods and lived. The Celestials had always been an absolute force, unchallenged and unquestioned. Now, they bled. And bleeding gods were no gods at all. The Council's judgment. The Celestial Council, an entity as ancient as the stars, convened in their throne world, a dimension of pure energy where lesser beings could not even perceive their presence. Here, Seraphis stood before them, her radiance dimmed with something dangerously close to humiliation. The battle over Sol had been meant to be a lesson, a swift punishment for a race too arrogant to kneel. Instead, it had become an open wound in celestial pride. The humans must be erased, boomed the voice of Zeltharun, the eldest of the Celestials. Not just conquered, not merely enslaved. Every trace of them must be burned from existence. There was no dissent. This was not war. This was a purge. Earth prepares for the end. On Earth, the celebrations over their small victory were brief. The cost had been catastrophic, entire cities lay in ruin, the moon was shattered, and half the planetary defense fleet was gone. They had bought themselves time, but against an enemy as vast as the Celestials, time meant nothing. Humanity had no delusions about their odds. They had stood against the gods and landed a blow, but in doing so, they had drawn the full wrath of an enemy beyond comprehension. The Celestials were coming back. Not with an armada, this time, they were bringing the end of all things. But humanity had never been known for giving up. The minds of Earth's greatest scientists, strategists, and engineers worked with a singular purpose, survival, if they could not match the Celestials in power, they would surpass them in something else. Ingenuity. They turned to the resonance lance, analyzing its effects. If one ship had fallen, then more could fall. They refined the technology, scaled it up, and prepared for the next onslaught. But technology alone would not be enough. They needed allies. The call to the oppressed. Humanity was alone in its fight, but they knew they weren't the only species that had suffered under celestial rule. Across the galaxy, there were thousands of conquered races, some reduced to mere slaves, others barely surviving under the weight of divine tyranny. A desperate plan was formed. Using stolen celestial communication tech, humanity sent out a signal across the stars. A message of rebellion. ***, the gods are not immortal. We have seen them bleed. We have made them bleed. Rise with us. Fight with us. The age of submission is over. ***. Most species ignored the call, too afraid to resist. But a few, ***, a precious few, listened, ***. And across the void, for the first time in a million years, the first sparks of rebellion against the gods were lit. The arrival of judgment. The sky burned as the celestials returned. This time, there were no emissaries, no ultimatums. Only annihilation. Before the defenders of Earth, an entity descended, one vaster than any celestial before. It was not a single being, but a convergence of many, fused into a construct of raw destruction. The harbinger of erasure. The battle to decide the fate of humanity, and perhaps the universe, had begun. The harbinger of erasure descended upon Earth, a manifestation of pure celestial wrath. It was not a fleet. It was not an army. It was a force of destruction so vast that reality itself bent around it. A living anomaly, formed from the fused essence of countless celestials, its presence fractured space and burned through the very fabric of time. Where it moved, physics faltered, and light wept. It was the final judgment of the gods. And humanity had no choice but to stand against it. The last line of defense. Across Earth's ruined surface, billions watched as the sky cracked open. Every soldier, every scientist, every last citizen knew, ***, this was the end, ***. The United Human Defense Force, UHDF, had spent every second since the first battle preparing for this moment. Factories had churned without pause, forging weapons that shouldn't have existed. They had turned physics into their battlefield, bending science into weapons of war. Orbit was a fortress now, lined with massive resonance cannons capable of disrupting celestial energy fields. Prototype gravimetric disruptors pulsed against the harbinger, slowing its descent. And deep within the planetary core, the last, desperate contingency plan was armed. If Earth fell, then humanity would not fall alone. The first strike. The battle began not with a declaration, but with obliteration. A single wave of the harbinger's presence was enough to send thousands of human ships into collapse, their hulls unraveling as if they had never existed. Entire orbital stations were erased from history in an instant. But humanity had known this would happen. The first wave of the fleet was sacrificial, a distraction. As the harbinger focused on wiping the ships from existence, the resonance cannons fired. Their effect was immediate. The harbinger reeled, the resonance waves disrupted its form, causing portions of its unfathomable body to fracture, unraveling into cascading storms of cosmic energy. A celestial had never felt pain. But this was something close. The impossible victory. For the first time since its arrival, the harbinger hesitated. And in that moment, humanity struck with everything they had. Experimental relativity bombs, weapons designed to crush spacetime itself, were launched directly into the harbinger's wounds. They detonated with forces that should not exist, collapsing entire layers of reality around the celestial behemoth. And then, it screamed. Not with sound. Not with voice. But with the agonized shriek of a god realizing that it was dying. The price of defiance. The battle raged for hours, but the tide had turned. The gods could be killed, humanity had proven it. But victory was never meant to be free. Earth itself trembled under the harbinger's final convulsions. As the celestial monstrosity collapsed, it released an energy pulse unlike anything before. The force was so vast that half the planet's surface was instantly scorched, billions perished in an instant. But humanity endured. And as the last echoes of the harbinger faded, the celestials, watching from beyond the veil, understood what had just happened. The humans had not merely won a battle. They had changed the universe itself. The gods had fallen. And across the galaxy, for the first time in an eternity, the fires of rebellion were lit. The harbinger of erasure was dead. Its vast, unfathomable form had collapsed upon itself, unraveling into cosmic ruin. What was once an unstoppable force of divine judgment was now nothing more than debris drifting through the void, a silent testament to the impossible. Humanity had not just survived. They had slain a god. The galaxy takes notice. Across the stars, a reckoning began. For countless millennia, species across the cosmos had lived under celestial rule, knowing that resistance was futile. They had watched as entire civilizations were wiped from history with a mere gesture of divine will. They had believed in the absolute power of their overlords. But now? Now, they saw the truth. The gods could bleed. The gods could fall. And if humanity, a species so young, so small, so insignificant in the grand scheme of things could defy them, then what excuse did the others have? The celestial-controlled worlds began to whisper, then to plot, then to rise. The first sparks of rebellion had turned into a wildfire. The Celestial Council's response. The Council of Celestials, once eternal and unquestioned, now sat in fear. The destruction of the Harbinger had shattered the illusion of their omnipotence. The gods had relied on their reputation for so long that they had forgotten a crucial lesson. Tyranny lasts only as long as the fear that sustains it. And now? The fear was gone. Their dominion was crumbling. The rebellion had begun on dozens of worlds, spreading like a contagion. Slave races rose against their overseers. Entire star systems broke their chains. Celestial forces found themselves hunted, their once dominant fleets being ambushed and dismantled by those they had once ruled without contest. It was unthinkable. And at the center of it all, the humans remained. They had become more than just rebels. They had become the vanguard of a new age. Humanity's gamble. But Earth had suffered for its defiance. Half the planet was in ruin, cities were gone, billions were dead, and their forces were stretched to the limit. They could not hold out forever. And they knew the Celestials would not stop. A new war was coming, one far greater than the battles before. The Celestials, desperate and enraged, would pour their full strength into crushing humanity and this growing rebellion. Humanity had no choice but to strike first. The decision was made. They would take the fight to the gods themselves. The march to heaven. The UHDF, now reinforced with fleets from newly liberated worlds, set their sights on the impossible. They would invade the celestial throne world. A place where no mortal had ever set foot. A realm beyond space and time, where the rulers of the universe dwelled in untouchable splendor. It was suicide. It was madness. And yet, as the first warships prepared for departure, as weapons were loaded, as soldiers steeled themselves for the battle ahead, there was no hesitation. Because humanity had never been a species of gods. But they had always been a species of monsters who devoured the impossible. The war was not over. It was just beginning. The celestial throne world. A realm beyond time and space, hidden in the folds of the universe itself. No mortal race had ever seen it, let alone set foot upon it. It was absolute. Eternal. Untouchable, Until now. Humanity, alongside their growing coalition of liberated species, stood on the edge of the impossible. The gods had ruled for eons. Now, for the first time, their sanctuary was about to be invaded. The final plan. The celestial throne world was not a single planet. It was an entire dimension, a self-contained reality where the gods had shaped existence to their will. To breach its defenses, humanity could not simply fly there, they would have to break reality itself. And so, they built the Spear of Man. A warship unlike any before it. Half ship, half weapon, half impossible, it carried an experimental drive that could punch through dimensions, a single-use device that would tear open a gateway straight into the heart of celestial power. The plan was simple: get in. Strike the Council. End the war, There would be no reinforcements. No retreat. No second chances, It was a mission of annihilation. The breach. The fleet assembled, the largest in history, Thousands of warships from dozens of species, once enslaved by the Celestials, now united under a single cause. They formed up around the spear of man. The ship activated its drive. Reality screamed. A hole was torn in existence, an open wound in space-time. The fleet plunged through, and in an instant, they were in the throne world. The battle of the gods. The Celestials were waiting. They had not sat idle while humanity prepared for war. They had forged weapons of their own, beings of pure energy, manifestations of cosmic power, unlike anything that had ever existed before. What followed was a war beyond comprehension. Human warships clashed against entities that defied logic. Celestial titans, vast beyond measure, waded into battle, ripping ships apart with thoughts. But humanity did not falter. They had built weapons to fight the impossible. Resonance cannons ripped through celestial forms, gravitic imploders crushed beings that had once been infinite, quantum disruptors shattered entities composed of pure will. And the gods began to fall. The final push. Through the chaos, the spear of man pushed forward. Its target, the Celestial Council. If the gods were to be defeated, their leaders had to die. Seraphis, the Celestial who had once offered humanity mercy, stood at the gates of the council chamber. She had been one of the first to witness their defiance. Now, she would be their last obstacle. She did not beg. She did not waver. She fought. And in the end, humanity killed her, too. The spear of man breached the gates of the council. The throne room of the gods lay before them. The celestial council was shattered. The gods, who had once ruled the universe with divine impunity, now lay broken at the feet of those they had long considered ants. The galaxy, and everything within it, had been remade by the hands of those who dared to defy the impossible. The battle to reach the throne world had been long and brutal. The spear of man and its fleet had suffered losses unimaginable, but they had triumphed. And as the final blow fell upon the last of the celestial leaders, a new silence filled the void. It was the silence of a universe no longer bound by fear. The end of the gods. The gods had died, not in the glorious way they expected, but in the way they had always dismissed humanity, insignificant, there had been no grand, cosmic battle, no mighty clash of omnipotence. Humanity had simply fought back, and their victory had been inevitable. The celestial throne world, once a paradise of divine perfection, now lay in ruins. The gods' sanctum had been unmade, their dominion broken in a single, unrelenting strike. The surviving celestials, if any remained, had fled into the unknown, unable to stand against the force of human resolve. The rebellion was over. The gods were dead. And the universe, at last, belonged to the people who had dared to defy them. A new order. In the wake of victory, a new order emerged. Earth, once the last stand of a small, insignificant species, now became the capital of a galactic union, not of conquerors, but of those who had been liberated, The galaxies once dominated by the Celestials now found themselves in the hands of species who had never known freedom. Entire star systems were reshaped in the aftermath of the fall, with human leadership guiding the way. The once conquered races began to rebuild, to thrive. And while the human race had never intended to rule, their strength had forged the foundation for a new universe. But the galaxy was not without its challenges. For millennia, the Celestials had shaped the cosmos in their image, and their absence left a void. New threats arose, driven by the same ambition and power that had once fueled the gods. Yet, humanity's most enduring lesson remained true: power is not eternal. The universe was not just theirs to take, but theirs to shape. The human legacy. As the years passed, humanity's place in the galaxy was cemented. No longer simply a species of survival, they had become the torchbearers of defiance, the exemplars of what it meant to stand against oppression. Their story, the story of how the gods had been slain by a race that should never have been able to rise, became a myth. The myth, however, was not just a tale to inspire hope. It was a reminder. A warning to all who would ever think to oppress or rule through fear. The unbreakable spirit of humanity could not be crushed. Humanity had made the universe their own. And they would never bow to anything again. The gods were gone. The age of tyranny had ended. And a new era, one born from the ashes of rebellion, began. The future was wide open, and humanity was no longer insignificant. They were immortal.